it's a big ass contradiction.
It is.
But culturally, it goes into how I process and interpret and view things. Like, for instance, the black side of me, I feel, is that rawness, that piece that had to come up through surviving and teaching me how to deal with and approach like the resiliency and things of that nature. The Anglo-Saxon
Resiliencies of what? No.
Resilience.
Oh, you mean like adversities that you had to face?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through
Challenges,
adversities
sure.
or challenges or coming up in the environment that I came up in, having to deal with motherfuckers getting beat up for nothing, going to school, coming home from school, being a journey and trying to just make it there. You know what I'm saying? So dealing with all those things and being able to still matriculate in a society which I just don't feel as though it's for me. But the Anglo comes in from the very indoctrination of that. So it's this funny thing where
Of that being
school as well as how the Anglo-Saxon is portrayed throughout history. It goes back to it being psychological. Because a person who is in an economic situation where they can't provide or can't sustain affects them psychologically. If you poor, you stressed. If you stressed, you can't function. If you can't function, how can you begin to matriculate through a society that's constantly...
Good one. That is a real good one.
And on top of that, it's like people don't realize
People as in who?
The masses.
Okay.
The masses. Caucasians, black people. I think Caucasians realize a little bit more.
Although Caucasians is technically you're not supposed to call them Caucasians because Caucasian is a... See, now we ain't this thing about assimilating because America has held out the chair for black people. So now we got to be kind of weird how we say things about people because we could also be offensive. But I don't think we're supposed to call them Caucasians because of the caucus. So I want to know, I don't want, paleface is just mean, but it's just funny to say. But how do we call people that were historically known as Caucasian if we're not supposed, if Caucasian is slightly offensive because of the history of the word? So what should we call them? I'm saying amongst us. What should we call them? Because I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to be saying, you offended me, then I just come out and say, I offend you. If I offend you, it's on purpose.
So they are offended by the word Caucasian.
The word Caucasian can be offensive, yes. It depends on the audience. It's like some people rather be called African American, and to some people that's an insult, and some people would prefer to be called black instead of African American because they feel African American is an insult.
And that still goes back to the bigger issue. First off, why are we even classifying ourselves as such things? And two, why is it offensive? Racial jokes and things like that should...
So fucking funny.
They're so funny, right? They're
so stupid.
They funny, and it really shows that our society hasn't really progressed at all in it. Because in progressing, we should be able to talk to each other, have jokes and discourse, and not be offended or raised up in arms. It just really shows how we haven't progressed at all. That I can't make a joke about your fatness without you being offended. Or I can't make a joke about, oh, white people do this a certain way and black people do that a certain way. And it's funny. The whole chicken, watermelon, all that shit is funny. But some people would say, okay, yeah. But then they say, oh, you can't take it to a certain point. My thing is, you can. People say, oh, no, it's inappropriate to joke about slavery. It is.
But some of the funniest black jokes come from slavery. Look at Dave Chappelle's skit. That shit was hilarious.
Slavery, racism, and oppression. The jokes come from there, but at the same time, you upset about a slavery joke, and people kill me for saying it, but first off, you made it through slavery and it made you who you are today.
Yeah.
2, you had the option to fight and die, but you didn't. You chose to remain for whatever reasons, because people get into this thing where they didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Choice is not negated by the options of your choices. Just because you got 1 or 2 options and those 1 or 2 options are unfavorable in your opinion, don't mean that they're not options. Just because you don't want to die, don't mean that you had the option.
But you're not. I see what you're saying, but I know you as a person outside of this small arena. I know you as a person. I know you're saying that when you say that for other reasons people stayed, you're saying that people stayed for other reasons that have not yet been vocalized. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were lesser, just that they may have a different strategy.
Yeah,
for
an approach to how they want to. Even like today, most people, the discussion come up is no, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, we should approach it this way. But the problem is we separate ourselves and completely going back to the idea of being able to disagree but still unite. It's like an army. To have an army, you need the army, you need the Air Force, you need the Navy, you need all of those branches. And the funny thing about it is they all approach the situation from a different, stance.
Okay.
Air Force is going to hit you from the air. Army going to hit you from the ground. And people in the Army probably looking at the people flying the planes like, why would you try to use that tactic? Because that's less accurate. I mean, taking away the fact that technology has allowed us to kill people better, like the explosion.
Yeah.
But if you think of it in a sense of it being a firecracker, and firecrackers can kill, it's not accurate to drop a firecracker on top of a land of mass and expect it to kill people. But if I'm an army soldier, I'm up in your face. I can throw a firecracker in your face. That's more personal.
I got you. So that's how you're saying, like the slave who stayed is like the Air Force in some sense in the way you use it within that metaphor.
Yeah.
And those who ran away or those who fought are more like the army person who's on the ground fighting. But you can't. There's no way you can win any war without having both approaches.
Without having multiple tactics.
Okay.
It's like a chessboard. And this is the reason where I get into the plight still being the same and it being politically correct and nothing has really changed. Now, you remove the word nigga, you remove segregation, you remove Confederate flags, you remove all these things that you associate with your plight, but your plight still exists. Now, when you put it
symbols,
symbols, not culture. Now, when you put it on a chessboard, what you're doing is you're removing
pawns.
No, not pawns. You got white versus black, right? In doing that, what you do is you make all the pieces black. You make all the pieces black because now you don't have any identifiers or any. You mask it.
So you don't know which piece you're moving.
You don't know what piece you're moving. Why? Because you don't know where your plight is coming from now. At first you saw was the white pieces. You knew who to attack. You knew what to attack. You knew what was the goal. But once you remove all the identifiers and it being not necessarily color, but culture in the way people think, because what I try to get into and what I try to explain is a person who is a racist is less likely to use the word nigger because he understands the ramifications and it's definitely exactly the consequences is not going to say it. Now, a person who isn't racist is just going to say the word nigger. To juxtapose it to another ideal concept, if I'm a woman beater, which is a man who beats women, emphasis on S, multiple.
Or the E, given the way that noun changes, but I got you.
But if I'm a woman beater, I know not to hit a woman in her face or anything that could be seen in public because I am a woman beater. This is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But a man who hits a woman might strike her in the face. You want to know why? Because he's not aware that, oh, you don't hit her here, you don't hit her here. It was more so just out of frenzy. But the act of doing it repeatedly, you learn. You become like a thief.
I get what you're saying.
Like a thief. A good thief won't get caught. You want to know why? Because he's learned how to steal.
Yeah.
Better and better and better. A good racist ain't going to show themselves. You're never going to see a good racist. The people that people draw to, oh, they're ignorant, it's stuff like that. They're not ignorant.
That goes back to the education video. But I get what you're saying about the women beater and so forth. So some people don't think you're going out saying, women beater, get smart about beating your women.
No,
what you're saying is that the man who strikes the woman is not necessarily she is striking a person, and that person happens to be a woman, and the reason that they're striking them is out of some frustration or something that led up to it. Versus a woman beater happens to be a woman beater technically could be also another woman. So a woman beater is a person in this society is mostly a man. So let's go to man. A woman beater is a man who gets pleasure out of beating women, but he knows that's a social taboo. So what he does is that he beats her in such an intelligent way that she would have to reveal something very private about herself.
They get smart about it.
So you're saying that the person that is racist, and the racist isn't walking around going, I hate niggas. This is the one that's going around, we need more education. Let's get tougher on laws.
Yeah.
War against drugs. That's the racist.
Because one, I dropped your guard. Then you got to realize, or people have to understand, I always see people go into, oh, they're stupid, they're ignorant, they're this and they're that, because they're racist. No, they're not dumb. They're not stupid. Because for them to be stupid, that means that we would have overcame the plight already. They're actually very brilliant. And until you give them the credit of the brilliance that they have cultivated year over years and centuries, then you will never, ever, ever come to overthrow anything. Because you can't even understand the brilliance behind what you're working against.
Okay, so that's why you have a respect for the Anglo.
I respect the Anglo.
So that's why you combine them in this venture, in this project that we're on, because the Black Anglo is something to be respected for, not necessarily for the atrocities, but the skill it took.
The skill it took to commit those atrocities.
And
because people try to, once again, when it comes to intelligence and it comes to the idea of thinking and being strategic, it has nothing to do with morality or right or wrong. It is purely about skill and meticulousness. And that is what matters. And you have to, as a person who loves craftsmanship and skill, which we say we all do, you have to respect it.
Okay, so this is what, if I get you correctly, you're saying if we want to unlock the chains of oppression, we have to understand the complexity of the lock to be able to pick that lock.
You have to, I tell people,
pick that lock to undo it.
I tell people you have to become the savage. And I use the word savage a lot, but what I mean by that is you have to put your mind into what it is and how they think. Because people want to attack it from a standpoint, they want to attack oppression and they want to attack everything that they consider a plight from a civilized standpoint. A civilized person can never be the savage. Never ever will. And they don't understand
but the savage has to understand civilized people.
No, the savage understands civilized people because civilizing or being civilization is a process. The suffix right there, Asian, in my mind, makes it a process.
It makes it a noun, so it makes it a thing.
It's a thing. You're being civilized. You're being civilized.
Definitely.
We live in a civilization.
So that makes it a verb. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Like
it happens to you.
It happens to you. Nobody, which is why they talk about being socialized and having to go to school so you can understand what it is, the right and wrongs of society. Because you're being civilized. And there's certain things and certain structures that go into doing such things, like education. If you want to rule people, education is the first thing you're going to go after. Because why? If I educate you, it's ingrained in you to do these things.
We wasn't supposed to get into this, but you know exactly what you're talking about, and you're hitting your head on Edward Said's Orientalism. And a brief overview of that is that it says that Western civilization, you know the word Oriental, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason the word Oriental is offensive because it takes consideration people from this Egypt all the way to Japan have the same culture. Look how many people you're talking about and how many cultures you're talking about. And what Edward Said is saying is that if you're saying that I, as an Oriental, has to fit into your definition of Orientalism, then I have to subjugate my culture and everything unique about me as an Egyptian versus a Japanese person versus a Chinese person. I have to subjugate all of that to your ideal or your expectation or your stereotype of who I am.